Hey Julie, so here's our website. When you go to the link, this is what opens up. Claire created it. You're going to put your name here, the authors, just their last names, the year of publication, and the journal name, and you can just put T's if it's T's. And we've kind of identified three major types of articles we think will pop up. The first one is comparative, which means they're typically looking at an online version of a face-to-face course and they're comparing the two. We had some questions about whether that could be experimental. The face-to-face class could be the control group and the online class would be the experimental. We weren't sure. And I just want to make sure that we're thinking about that as we're, you know, evaluating plans. You're going to have to wait till I'm done. As we're coding those articles, so then we can make sure we're using the right vocabulary when we disseminate it. The next one would be evaluative, which means that they are talking about a program or a class or an activity and it's online and they're including some outcome data. And then finally, descriptive is when they're describing a program, a course, activity, or even professional development, but they don't give any data to evaluate it. And then other, obviously, those are articles that don't fit into those three categories. The obvious one being what we talked about this morning, which was those articles that just kind of give like a status or, you know, here's what we're doing in online, but it's not necessarily a literature review. It's not really, you know, but a literature would fit under other also. So, and then you would just put a description. The next page is going to ask you to actually go into the article. So the first thing is you want to describe, it could be a program, course, activity, or professional development. So what is described, is it a program, a credit-bearing course, non-credit? Those are pretty self-explanatory. Um, if the I think that one of the pieces that one of the issues we were running into, Claire and I, is that when we would put any kind of open-ended data, that's where the error would come into. So when we talked about it, I think we decided that just the best thing to do would be as specific as possible. So when we go to do Inter-Rater, you know, if you more details is better than less details, because then we could probably come up with some similar answers if we're both being pretty descriptive. The next one is if they talk about the university, where it was done. If they tell you the name of the university, but they don't tell you if it's large, mid-sized, small, don't take a guess. Just put not described, just because we don't want to make any assumptions. Same thing with type of university. If they give you the name of university, which actually they do quite a bit, put that in there. The location of university, not given if not provided. And then what is the focus of the program, course, activity, professional development? The length, if they have some type of length, it could be that it was a semester. It could be that it's ongoing. We reviewed an article for professional development where it was just like a website that anybody could access at any time. Is it fully online or some in person? That's pretty self-explanatory. What does it contribute to? An undergrad, a graduate, certificate, non-certificate, alternative, none, or an other. So I had some errors there because sometimes you have to dig through the article to really find it. It's not totally explicit. So just make sure you're really paying attention to what they, you know, to where that's described, or it might be described in multiple places. Is there field work? And we broke down the field work into 3 or 4 actually levels. So some courses just require students to do observations of special ed settings, fieldwork based assignments where they would actually have to do an assignment in a class, student teaching, or there could be a structured practicum, or pre-student teaching, or none, or other. And then if they say anything about the fieldwork, how is this supervised? Put that in there because I feel like that's a key piece. I don't think that'll come up that often because that's kind of a new, I guess, a new area that courses are handling. I don't think it's been going on too long that we've done online fieldwork exploration. The type of technology, so is it synchronous, asynchronous? So this I think will need to be tweaked because a learning oh wait. Check all that apply. Okay. So it could be synchronous, it could be asynchronous. They may talk about the learning management system, recorded video, video conferencing, which that's when, you know, they have students get together, or it could be just one student and it's it's an interactive video. Phone conferencing, not described other. If a learning management system is used, which one? That would be like Blackboard or um, what's that? I don't know what they use at UNC Charlotte. If video conferencing is used, is it individually streamed to each student, streamed to a group of students at a remote location? If recorded video is used, how is it provided to the student? So that will pop up in some older articles where courses were done via mail. So they would just send the video through the mail, or can you access the video online? Um, but through the mail is kind of older. What is the audience? So is it individuals in a teacher prep program, individuals who are already certified? It could be both, because it could be certified teachers who are maybe going for another certification or something. Is there anything else we need to know? So you would just put in there, is there anything else that popped up that we think might be something we want to think about or something we want to include when we're writing up the results? Number of participants. So this would be, if this is a comparative and evaluative study, um, number of participants in the online distance group, so the not face-to-face, number of students in traditional, not online distance group face-to-face. We reviewed this one article where they actually had 3 groups. They had an online, they had a distance ed group, they had an on-campus group, but then they had a distance ed on campus. So we consider that distance ed. So anything that's not your traditional face-to-face class taught by a live person right in front of you would be considered distance ed, I think. But again, as we go along, that may come up. If they give you anything about the ages, put that in there. We do want to, if they don't, you can either leave it blank or write not given. Demographics, if they don't give it to you, you don't have to put anything in. Or I'm sorry, the urban, suburban, and rural. And we think that that's actually pretty important, because when we think about one of the benefits of online teaching is that it can reach, these rural areas. So I don't think it'll come up, actually. I don't think many articles will tell you that, but I do think that that would be a point that we would want to bring up, that that's something we need to know in articles. Do they talk about the participants' level of comfort with technology? Any other relevant info in the demographics? Then we broke up the results by different measures. So measure 1, and we sort of saw some common themes that popped up in terms of measures. Measure 1 being student satisfaction. So that's if a student was given a survey and they were just asked, like, how did you feel about online teaching, or what did you think of this course, or something. So that would be a researcher developed survey, as opposed to if you skip down to number 3, which is the official university course evaluation. So a lot of times those obviously will overlap in what they're asking, but we just want to make sure that we identify which one is being used to kind of measure the student satisfaction. The measure 2 is performance. So that could be grades, it could be rubric scores, assignment scores, it could be, if they're comparing whole programs, it could be a GPA. So anything that kind of indicates what their performance is. And then we left 6 more blanks for measures that, additional measures or measures that don't fit into those categories. If we find that we need more blanks, we can just add those in. Claire can just add those in, it's not a problem. But we thought we couldn't think of many, we couldn't really think of research that would go beyond that. All right, back to comparative studies. What is compared? So the same program, but in a different modality, so not online, or are they looking within online programs, so synchronous versus asynchronous? Comparative studies, what is the design used? Is it post-test only, or pre and post-test and other? And that one I had some difficulty with, so we may want to add or tweak as we move along with that one. Now we're doing the results. So again, we have them linked to what they are. So measure 1 would be student satisfaction. If there wasn't that measure, you would skip it. Number 2, performance. Number 3, course evals. And then the 4, 5, and 6 would be those measures that are not tied to any of those categories. Any other relevant information or notes? We read an article the other day where they compared they compared an online to a face-to-face, but they broke the online into two sections with half the numbers in each sections as the face-to-face because they felt like the online classes, the amount of work that's required to in an online course, actually I don't I think it was something like that, but they felt like they needed less students in each section. So that's where I would put that information in as being relevant. And that's it. So you would submit that. It's not huge. It's not, you don't have to dive deep into the methods too much. One thing that I had thought maybe we wanted to think about was recommendations for future research. And, you know, but that would be really difficult, I think, to code and get agreement on. So, but it's just something to think about. Is that something that we want to articulate? Because this field is changing so quickly and so much. Is the research, how have those recommendations maybe changed over time? I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's a whole nother study. So anyway, that's it. That's the form. And, you know, when you watch this, I think that email will also include the articles. So if you have any questions at all, shoot both Claire and I an email and just, you know, ask any question that you can think of. And what's going to happen is that date that I told you, which I think it was maybe March 25th. I don't remember, but I think I gave you a date, but if you can't remember it, let me know and I'll check my calendar. We will, I'm going to pull the data about an hour beforehand and try and actually calculate an agreement and see if we can reach a certain level before we go ahead and divvy up all the articles. Okay? So again, if you have any questions, let me know. Thanks, Julie.